What is going on there, everyone? Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Can you be any happier? Check this out. Christmas cups from Starbucks. Love it. If you like trading stocks and options, welcome to the channel. We're here to make each other some money, honey. All right, so we got some things to talk about today. This is kind of our time to hang out, talk about stocks, talk about anything we really want related to the market. So if you have something that you want to see us talk about, go ahead and leave a comment in the chat box and we'll try to get to it. But I do want to talk about today, we are going to talk about Work Horse. We're going to talk about PLTR, Planeteer, and the NIO earnings that came out yesterday. And we're going to talk and look at the overall market as well. And then I want to talk about something that hit me yesterday, especially as it's related to our NIO trade that we took off for a profit yesterday. And that is the fact that indecision is decision when you're trading. So let's go ahead and take a look at some charts and kind of get things started here. Buy, Jessica, cannot agree with you more. Buy PLTR. Just buy it. Let's take a look. We're going to get into some of those things. Let's go take a look at Palantir right now. And I do have a fairly large position in Palantir. Look, this is a 5-minute chart, 10-minute chart, 30-minute chart, 1-hour chart. Look at this thing. I first bought at 11, sold on this move up, and then kind of regretted getting out of it. So I currently have a fairly significant position with a cost basis of somewhere around 14. And I'll be honest with you, I agree with you, Jessica. I am not selling PLTR. This is now a very, very long hold for me. PLTR, I think, has a chance to go up, 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 up and away. Let's see. I don't even know. There's no price target. And you have to believe, one, that's going to have some momentum. Look at this momentum coming into it. With government contracts, things going on. I have a very long-term view in PLTR. Cannot agree with you more, Jessica. PLTR is a buy, 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 buy. Look at this thing. Big move up. We can't even retrace this candle. Now we're just kind of standing in this box around 18. I mean, if you want to wait for this to come down, go ahead. Wait for it to come down. I'm not waiting for it to come down. I'm in it. I'm holding it. Can you imagine people who, sold out on Tesla when it went up 5%, 10%, 20%, when it was $80, $90? No, thank you. Not this one. I am holding. This thing just wants to go higher, higher, higher. Let's take a look at the overall market, see if we can get some key levels in here. This is the spider, the S&P 500. Another really kind of just balancing day here in the overall market. We continue to stay in this trading range. I do have a small bearish position on. I don't know why. And it's kind of getting killed, to be honest with you. The overall position, the short position has been a little bit crushed. But look, we're just kind of moving sideways after this fairly big move up. Sideways, 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 sideways. And then what we're going to do? We're going to shoot up. Kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Kind of looks like we're going to shoot up. But the overall level on the downside is going to be this 358, 359. This was the previous all-time high in the S&P 500. And you'll see that we went up, kind of tested it, broke back above it, tested it in the overnight last night, bounced off it. 358's got to be the line in the sand if you're bullish in this market, especially on the short term. Somewhere in that 358 area. If we start getting at a different move, then I don't really know what to do on that. But I still think as long as we're above this 358, we're probably still going higher. I'm going to hold my bearish position just for a little bit, just in case we want to do a flush. I think there is a completely... There's lots of reasons why the market might want to come down to that 350, 345 level. Lots of gaps on there. Lots of reasons why it might want to come down that way. Is it going to come down? Who knows? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know. But let's take a look at NIO following the earnings yesterday. And it's just kind of in the chop. It's just sitting here in the chop. So who lost on NIO? Because we're basically flat. Options were pricing in $5, $10 moves. Let's get that off there. And what has NIO done? It's flat. So if you're holding a large position in calls, you got IV crushed. And now the stock went nowhere, essentially, and you're sitting on nothing. If you were holding a ton of NIO puts, you got nothing. You're flat. And so the winners with this NIO earnings appears to be those who sold options or some kind of spread. And we were very fortunate. We did a great job at trade management. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the stream. Because when you have a profit, you have to look at taking it, especially when you're dealing with options. And so we were fortunate enough, we took it off right here before earnings yesterday. Check out the video. We made 40% on that trade. 40% in about a day. So if you haven't checked out our video, my video from Monday, you know, sometimes I talk like I got a mouse in my pocket. Who is we? I'm a guy sitting in an office. There's no we, it's me. So I made 40%, and anybody who happened to see the video and decide to make the same trade, you made 40% as well. Congratulations, great trade. But those who just bought calls and just bought puts and not a spread, with the huge amount of premium that was juiced in, because everybody's thinking NIO is going to the moon, they got crushed. Stock's gone nowhere. Overall, looking at this chart, sentiment in the market, it's kind of just consolidating. I think NIO's a buy. I'm going to be looking at getting back in my stock position in NIO. We're consolidating in this $40 range. We can't really break below the spikes from the other day. Came down, jumped, came down, jumped, came down, and jumped. There's got to be lots of people who are looking to get in the NIO. And if you haven't done so, let's do a Google search. Let's pull it up. Look at these NIO cars. Just Google search NIO cars. Go to images. Look at these things. These things look amazing. Tell me this car is not sexy. Look at these things. These are like Maseratis, Porsches. This is not a Tesla. This is not a Boyd. This is not your everyday kind of car. This is a high-end luxury market. And we can talk some about their battery technology and how you just drive through and they swap out the batteries in the car. Some of this is very interesting. But just looking at the cars, look at these things. Tesla wannabe. That's not a Tesla wannabe. That thing is awesome. I thought I wanted a Tesla, but I think maybe I want a NIO. These cars, I'm telling you, they look amazing. I think I like them. I really like them. I'm bullish on this stock. I think, the Chinese market is going to be one of the largest markets. And as long as the economies keep moving the way they are, China's got money to spend. People in China have got money. And they're going to want to spend it. And look at this thing. These cars are amazing. All right. If nobody else has anything on NIO, we're going to move on. We talked a little bit about PLTR. Let's get our chart back up here. All right, took a look at PLTR a little bit. Up, 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 up and away. PLTR. Bye, 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 bye. All right, now I want to look at, we're going to talk a little bit about Work Horse. Now, I'm not buying Work Horse yet, but look at this move, man. I'm kind of regretting it. My whole thesis has been not to buy Work Horse before this UPS contract comes out. It seems too binary for me to think Work Horse is going to go to the moon or Work Horse is just going to absolutely get crushed when they don't get the UPS contract or the Postal Service contract for all these cars. Now, part of me kind of wants them to not get it. Sorry for all you guys that are holding Work Horse, hoping for this Postal Service contract. And part of it's selfish because if it gets crushed, I'm going to buy it. Because everybody... I'm going to pull up something here. Hold on with me just a second. Everybody seems to think that Work Horse is really all about getting this contract and these cars that they have, these trucks, these little delivery vehicles that are for, you know, the UPS, the kind of replace your standard mail carrier, right? And that is part of it. But what people move, and here's a great image, I'm going to kind of what Work Horse has been trying to do, is Work Horse has been trying to become a leader in aerospace flight operations using drones. Now, this is the huge potential for Work Horse. It's not just these mail delivery vehicles. I don't know what to call them, box trucks. Yeah, you see them, you know, your mail truck. But what they're trying to do, we know without a doubt that Amazon has been attempting and wants to be able to deliver your packages, what they call the final mile delivery. It wants to do that with drones. And so then the question goes, how far can a drone come? Are there going to be little distribution miles? And look at this on the right. This is what Work Horse is trying to do. One, it's an electric vehicle, so it's driving around. But then it's got a drone docking station on top. Can you imagine this? I'm telling you, the first company, one, to get FAA approval, to get government approval to do this, and then be able to implement it, is going to have a gold mine on their hands. So can you imagine this vehicle drives around, maybe it goes to a parking lot, it's got packages inside it, and maybe it does like a block at a time, 2 blocks at a time. All the driver has to do is stand outside, put the next package in, it flies out, drops it down to somebody's house, this drone, comes back to the truck, drives it, drops down, and it could be done in an area where that driver has constant view of the drone. And it's still going to be more efficient, because that's one of the things that I think the FAA and the government has a hard time over, is they want you to be able to have visual line of sight with your drone at all times. I'm actually an FAA certified pilot, drone pilot, took the class in order to do it. And that's a big rule for them, is they want you to have visual line of sight with that drone at all times, mainly to, I think, to avoid obstacles like airplanes, helicopters, things like that. I think all that's going to get worked out eventually. But I'm telling you, the first company to be able to have a drone delivery system, and that's what Work Horse is working on. So this contract that they have or might not have with the Postal Service is just a small piece. This is not the end game for Work Horse, this Postal Service contract. And there's a lot of people that have short-term minds, short-term trades. I understand that. And so they're only focusing on this small little contract, get it or not. But I think Workhorse is still working on this. And this is going to be the next step. Is this automated electric vehicles? Yes, they can make money on that. But if they can implement this drone delivery system for that final mile delivery of packages, this thing is going to be a stock that you want to hold, and you want to hold for your children's children's children. This is how generational wealth is going to be made, is if they're able to do this and getting in at the bottom level. So I am kind of still patiently waiting aside because I don't want to have a large position in Workhorse, especially in a retirement account, waiting only to have it drop in half or 60% overnight. And if they don't get the contract, that's what's going to happen. Workhorse is going to go back down to $8 to $10. Everybody's going to panic out, think it's over. And if that happens, I'll be waiting. And I'm going to be buying Workhorse. That's my thoughts on that. Let's see what we're doing in the market. Man, just keep going flat, flat, flat. Might be interesting if we can get to the low of the day here, but I don't really see it. All right, coming into the end of lunchtime today. If you have any things you want to look at, put them in the chat. We'll talk about it. I want to talk about this NIO trade, though. And I want to talk about how indecision is a decision, especially when you're trading stocks. And sometimes your trade becomes not the same trade anymore. And that's exactly what happened with our NIO trade that we put on Monday and we came into Tuesday. So on Monday, we entered a call debit spread in Workhorse. So we have an upside bias. We had a bullish position in NIO going into earnings. And what I did is I bought that spread. It was a $1 wide spread, paid 38 cents per contract. So $38 per contract. The maximum gain on that trade would have been $1 or $100. And even if NIO completely collapsed, that contract wasn't going to zero. But we're just going to assume $0 or $100. And it cost $38 to put on that trade. So essentially, I was risking $38 in order to potentially make $100. That trade went in on Monday morning as NIO was way down here at $40. Going into the close, 2:30, 3 o'clock yesterday before earnings, NIO's all the way up to $48, $49, up 20% from where I put on the trade. Now, NIO options are not great. They're super illiquid. The bid spread ask is huge. So I knew getting this trade on and off was going to be a little bit difficult. Sitting here on yesterday, that spread had gone from $38 to $60. And it's real easy to assume as it's going up like that, awesome, everything's going great. Look at, we're already up 50%. Man, if this goes to the moon, I'm going to take these off for 85 cents, 90 cents. But you have to ask yourself what happened there is that trade was no longer the same trade. Why? Let me explain. That spread has now gone up to $60. So where I was risking 38 to make 100, now essentially I'm risking 60 to make 100. That's not the same trade. Those percentages are completely different. Would I have ever entered that NIO trade on Monday? Would I have ever risked $60 in order to potentially make $100 going into NIO earnings? Absolutely not. Was not going to happen. There was no way that I was going to risk $60 to make 100. 38 to make 100? Absolutely. And so when you're making a trade, when you're trading stocks and when you're trading options, you have to understand not making a decision to hold that position open is just like making a new trade. And so often you have to stop and you have to think to yourself, would I make this trade? Would I trade $60 for potential to make 100? And the answer in my heart yesterday was absolutely not. I would not have made that trade. And so what was my decision? Take it off. Take the profit. Yes, I was willing to risk 38 to make 100 going into NIO earnings. I was not willing to risk 60. So you can't just sit on the trade. I couldn't just sit on the trade. If I would not have opened a position of 60 cents per contract to make $1, $60 to make 100. If I wasn't willing to make that decision, to open it, you can't make that decision to hold it. You have to be willing to take trades off. And a 50% gain without even having to hold through the earnings report, that is a winner, 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 chicken dinner. And you got to take that money, say, thank you, honey, move on to the next trade. But so many times it's easy to only think about the risk reward when you put on the trade, but you have to evaluate the risk reward as the trade evolves. Because as time goes on, that trade evolves. And by not making a decision, you're making a decision. Indecision is a decision. Non-action is an action. Choosing to not close that trade when it was trading at 60 cents is the same as making a decision to put it on to risk 60 cents to make $100. And that's not a trade I was going to make. I would not have made that trade to open the trade. So you have to take it off. Hope that helps you guys out. Join me tomorrow. Same time, same place, 12:30 Eastern. We're going to talk about stocks. We're going to talk about options. And we're going to talk about how to make some money. Hang out on a lunch break. Relax. Maybe have a little Christmas coffee. Hope that helps, guys. Great hanging out with you. See you next time.